Okay, sorry, we got interrupted, so this would be part 2 of the notes that we had here. Okay, so anyhow, so we're back to right here. So we're going to find the volume of a pyramid. What was I filling the pyramid of? Oh, chocolate milk, that's right. Okay, so who wouldn't want a pyramid full of chocolate milk, right? Okay, so there is a formula to find volume of any pyramid. This is the formula. Okay, the first thing you do is you find the area of the base. Okay, so you're going to have to use area formulas. So you're going to find the area of the base. Then you multiply the area of the base times the height. Okay, notice I said the height. I did not say the slant height. And then what you do is you divide it by 3. Okay, so the formula for volume of a pyramid is area of the base, multiply it by the height of the pyramid, then divide it by 3. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to do 2 examples of how to find the volume of a pyramid. All right, so here we go, my first one right here. So let's draw a pyramid. So let's go ahead, make a rectangle. I'm going to make this pyramid have the base of a rectangle. So go ahead and draw a rectangle. This is the easiest way to draw a pyramid, in my opinion. Above the rectangle, put a point, and then connect each corner of the rectangle to that point. And after you get through connecting each corner to that point, you will notice that you end up with a pyramid. All right, so here we go. We have here is my pyramid right here. Technically, we would call this a rectangular based pyramid. Okay, why? Because if you notice, what type of shape is the base? Well, it's a rectangle. Okay, does it have only one base? Yes, it's a pyramid. Is the base a polygon? Yes, it is. Okay, so let's put some measurements in and let's find the volume of this pyramid. So let's say that the bottom part right here is 20. And let's go ahead and go inches. And then let's say this side of that bottom rectangle is 5 inches. Okay, and then let's draw a line going from the top of the pyramid down through the middle of the pyramid, right smack to the middle of the base, and so that it makes a 90 degrees. And then I'm going to draw this, and let's denote that as, I don't know, let's go with 8 inches. Okay, so there we have the volume right there. All right, so first of all, is that 8 right there, that dotted line, is it a height? Or is it a slant height? Very important that you know the difference. Okay, yep, well, if you said height, you are correct. So 8 is the height. How do I know it's the height? Well, remember, the height always goes from the top of the pyramid through the inside of the pyramid down to the bottom of the base. Okay, so I'm going to find the volume of this pyramid. So the formula is, and we just wrote it, you're going to find the area of the base. This is how you find volume. You find the area of the base, you multiply that by the height of the pyramid, and then you divide everything by 3. Okay, so let's go ahead. So let's go. Do I know the height? So let's fill in what we know. Yeah, I know the height. The height is 8. So in the place of height, I'm going to substitute the number 8. Okay, and then I'm going to divide everything by 3, but now I have to find the area of the base. All right, well, let's talk about the base. Well, what type of shape is the base? If you notice, the base is a rectangle. Okay, so how do you find area of a rectangle? Well, the formula for area of a rectangle is you go length times width. Okay, so let's talk about the rectangle. How long is the length? 20. What's the width? 5. So to find the area of the base, I'm going to go 20 times 5. So my volume formula is going to be 20 times 5, then times 8, then divided by 3. So let's go ahead and work that out. What's 20 times 5? So that's going to be 100. Then I'm going to go 100 times 8, and then I have to divide by 3. Okay, 100 times 8 is 800, and then I have to divide by 3. Okay, so that's where your calculator is going to come in handy. All right, so if you don't have your own calculator, use your phone as a calculator, or use your calculator as a phone, however you want to phrase it. So 800 divided by 3, I get this really, really long decimal. You can't see it because the line, there we go, 800 divided by 3. It's 266 point and a bunch of 6's. So I'm going to say that the volume of this pyramid is 266.67. Then I put the measurements in, and that's inches, and then it's going to be cubic inches. So the volume is going to be 266.67 inches. Okay, so that would be my first example of how to find volume. Let's do a second example of finding volume of another kind of pyramid, okay? So this particular pyramid in this case, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to set it up so it's kind of the same as that one right there, although not all of them have rectangles, but I'm going to make this one a rectangular bottom or base prism as well. So go ahead and draw in a rectangle. Once again, put a point above the rectangle and then connect each corner of the rectangle to that point, and that's probably the easiest way, not the only way, to make a pyramid, okay? So there we go. So there is my pyramid right here. All right, so let's make that line right there. Let's go ahead and make that 14 centimeters. Let's make this side over, let's make this side over here. Let's go ahead and make that 4 centimeters. And now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draw this. Let's make the line going down from the top, down the side of the pyramid like this so that it makes 90 degrees. And let's go ahead and let's make that line, I don't know, how long do you guys want to make it? Let's go ahead and make it 10 centimeters. Okay. So now I want to find the volume, okay? So remember, the formula for volume of a pyramid is you find the area of the base, then you multiply the area of the base times the height of the pyramid, and then you divide by 3. So it's area of the base times the height divided by 3, and that's how we find volume of a pyramid, okay? All right, so let's find, first of all, let's find the area of the base, okay? Well, here's my base right here. So if you notice, what type of shape is my base? Well, it's a rectangle. How do you find the area of a rectangle? Well, we just went over in the previous problem. To find the area of a rectangle, you go length times width. So I'm going to go 14 times 4. So the area of the base is going to be 14 times 4. Okay, now here's where this problem is going to get a little bit, not tricky, but we're going to have to do a little extra math. Now we have to find the height. Okay, now notice that 10 is not a height. If we go up here to our example, that 10 is a slant height, okay? So I cannot put 10 in for the height of this problem right here, okay? So here's what I have to do if you have a slant height, all right? I'm going to draw on a height. So if you notice, if I draw on a height right here, I'm going to draw a dotted line. Remember, a height goes right down through the middle of the pyramid, and then it goes to the bottom of the base, and it makes a 90-degree angle. And then I'm going to connect the bottom of the slant height to the bottom of the height, and this drawing wasn't great, but that line right there is actually half of 14. How do I know that? Because remember I said a height goes, and I'm going to put an H right here, a height goes right to the middle of the base, so that's going to have to be 7. Why is that going to have to be 7? Well, because 7 is half of 14, okay, and that line is half of the whole base right here, so that would be 14. Okay, so I need to find the height. Okay, I cannot use 10 for the height. Why can't I use 10 for the height? Well, because 10 is the slant height. All right, but if you noticed, and I'll shade it in here, and hopefully you can see it. If you notice, when I drew in the height, I just created a right triangle inside my actual pyramid. All right, where I know that this leg is 7, this hypotenuse is 10, and then my height is 8. So what I'm going to have to do to find the height is I'm going to have to use Pythagorean Theorem in order to find the height. Okay, Pythagorean Theorem is a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. Okay, it is not uncommon, you guys, that when you are given a slant height in a pyramid, you're going to have to apply Pythagorean Theorem to find the height. Okay, so let's use this, all right? So when I use Pythagorean Theorem, remember C stands for the hypotenuse. The hypotenuse is the longest side of the right triangle, which is 10. So I'm going to have 10 squared here. And then for A squared, I'm going to use H. H is my height. Plus, and then B, I'm going to have 7. Okay, so then I'm going to solve this problem out, and this is going to give me my height. So simplifying it out, H squared is 8 squared, plus 7 squared is 49. That's equal to 10 squared, which is 100. Okay, then I'm going to subtract 49 from each side. I'm finding the height of the pyramid. So I'm solving for H. So then I get H squared is equal to 51. 100 minus 49 is 51. Then, if I know that H squared is equal to 51, what do I do mathematically to find H? if you just said out loud or to yourself, you said, oh, find the square root of 51, you were absolutely correct. So using my calculator, the square root of 51 is equal to, and I'm just going to say 7.14. Can't see that. There we go. Square root of 51 is 7.14. So that means that is the height of my pyramid. Okay, so when I use my formula for the height, I put in 7.14. Okay, then I'm going to divide by 3. Okay, so my volume for my formula, or for my pyramid, excuse me, is going to be 14.4, which was the area of the, 14 times 4. Whoops, that's not 14.4. It's going to be 14 times 4, which is 56. And then I'm going to multiply that by 7.14, which turned out to be the height of my pyramid, and I got that by using Pythagorean Theorem. And then I have to divide by 3. Okay, so my volume is 133.28. Okay, so 133.28. Then I put my measurements in, which are centimeters, and then remember volume is always to the third power. It's always in cubic units. So my volume of this, so I can put 133.28 cubic centimeters of chocolate milk inside this pyramid if that's exactly what I wanted to find. Okay, all right, so now let's move on to the other shape. What's the other shape? What's the cousin of a pyramid? If you just said cone, you are absolutely correct. Okay, so now let's talk about cones. Okay, so what is a cone? Well, a cone is a solid shape. Stay with me here, guys. If you stop taking notes, you're only hurting yourself. You're going to have to know this information. So a cone is a solid shape. That means it's three-dimensional, okay, with only one base that is a circle. That is a circle. Okay? So that's what a cone is. So let's go ahead and draw a cone here. And so here's how I draw a cone. I draw like an angle like that. And down at the bottom then, I just connect those two pieces, which what's supposed to be a circle, but when you draw it, in reality, it looks more like a probably an oval than a circle here. So that right there would be a cone. Okay, so there's a couple pieces that you have to know about a cone. All right, so if I started from the very top of the cone and I drew a line that went straight through the inside of the cone right to the middle of the circle right here, that would be the height. Okay, so the height of a cone always goes from the top of the cone. It goes through the middle of the cone, and then it always goes right to the center of the base, and the base is a circle there. Okay? Then we have a line that runs along the side of the cone here, which we don't call it the height, we call that the slant height. So this line that runs along the side of the cone is what is known as the slant height. Then, of course, if I connect the middle of the base, the circle, to there, that right there would be the radius. Okay, so many times in a cone we have to know what the radius is, we have to know what the height is. Okay, all right, so we're going to learn how to find the volume of a cone, and there is a formula for volume of cones. All right, and it's the same formula that works for all cones, and it's actually similar to the pyramid. So to find the volume of a cone, this is what you do. You take the number pi, the symbol pi, you multiply it by the radius squared, that's r squared. Then you multiply it by the height of the cone, not the slant height, the height of the cone, and then you divide it all by 3. Okay, so some mathematicians for the volume of a cone, they would say pi times r squared times height divided by 3. Okay, but that's the formula, and remember, for pi, even though this is not completely accurate, we're going to substitute the number 3.14 in for the symbol pi. Okay, all right, so let's do 2 examples of this, and then you guys will go ahead and get started. Whoops. Gosh, I got to pay the electric bill every once in a while. All right, I just sent in my credit card number. We got it right there. Okay, so the first example. Let's do a very straightforward example first and foremost. Then we'll do one where we have to do a little bit of extra work in order to find the volume of a cone. So here is my cone. Let's go ahead and put a point right in the middle of the base of the cone, which once again is a circle. Let's draw a line going like that. Let's make that line 6 feet. And then let's draw a line from the top of the cone going straight down to the middle of the circle. It makes a 90-degree angle. And let's go ahead and make that 10 feet. Okay, so do I have all the information that I need to find the volume of a cone? Well, there's only 2 things you need to know. You need to know the radius. Do I have the radius? Yes, it is 6. You need to know the height. Do I have the height? Yes, it is 10. Okay, so that means to find the volume of this cone, I would take the number pi. I would multiply it by the radius to the second power. The radius is 6, so it would be times 6 to the second power. I would multiply that by the height. The height is 10. I'm not going to worry about the measurements till the end. And then I would divide all of that by 3. So the volume would be pi times 6 squared times 10 divided by 3. And then I just work this out. So what's pi? Well, we're going to use 3.14 for pi. 6 to the second power is 36. 10, not going to do anything with that. Can't simplify it. And then all divided by 3. So to find the volume, I just get out my calculator. Okay, use any calculator you want. And I just work this out. So I'm going to go 3.14 times 36 times 10. I'm going to see what that equals. And then I'm going to divide it all by 3. Always, when you multiply these out, see what it equals and then divide it all by 3. So I divide it by 3, and my volume is going to be 376.8. And then I put in my measurements, which are feet. And then remember, volume is always cubic. So the volume of this cone would be 376.8 cubic feet. Okay, so that would be example number 1. Let's go ahead and do example number 2 right here. Once again, stay with me. You should be writing this down. If you're not writing this down, you're doing yourself a disservice on being able to solve these problems. So in this second example right here, we're going to have a cone, and I'm going to give you not the height, I'm going to give you the slant height of the cone. Okay, so as you can see right here, so the radius of the cone is going to be, let's do small numbers. Let's see, let's do 3. Okay, 3 meters. Okay, and then the slant height of the cone, let's go ahead and make that 5. Whoops, not centimeters. We want to have the same measurements. If they're different measurements, that's a whole new ballgame. Okay, so 5 meters. Okay, so let's find the volume of this cone. Once again, the formula is you take the number pi, you multiply it by the radius to the second power, you multiply it by the height of the cone, and then you divide it by 3. So really there's only 2 things you need to know. You need to know the radius. Do I know the radius? Yes, it is 3. And then you also need to know the height. Do I know the height? No, I don't know the height, okay? That number right there, that 5, because it's running along the side of the cone, that is the slant height. So I'm going to have to find the height of the cone. So let's go ahead and draw in the height of the cone. So remember, the height of the cone goes from the very top of the cone down to the middle of the base, which is a circle, and it makes a 90-degree angle. And as you can see, when I did that, I just created a right triangle inside my cone. Okay, so this dotted line right here is my height. Okay, so I need to find that. Well, how am I going to find the height? If you just thought to yourself, if you just said out loud, oh, Pythagorean Theorem, you are absolutely right. So I'm going to have to use a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. That's Pythagorean Theorem to find the height of my cone so I can find the volume. Okay, so let's go ahead. So which number is c? Is it going to be 3? Is it going to be h? Or is it going to be 5? C is going to be 5. Remember, c is the hypotenuse. The hypotenuse is always the longest side. It's always across from the 90-degree angle. So 5 squared. I'm going to make ah. So I'm going to go h squared plus I'm going to make b 3. So I'm going to, using Pythagorean Theorem, I get h squared plus 3 squared is equal to 5 squared, and I'm going to simplify this out and solve it. So h squared stays h squared, 3 squared simplifies to 9, equals 5 squared simplifies to 25. I'm solving for h, so I'm going to subtract 9 from both sides of the equation. Those 9's will cancel out, and then I get a new equation of h squared is equal to 25 minus 9 is 16. And then if I know that h squared is equal to 16, to find h, once again, I take the square root of 16, which is 4. So I just found out that my height of my cone is 4. So now I have the information to find the volume. So my volume is going to be pi, 3.14, times the radius is 3, to the second power, times the height, and we just found the height to be 4. And then I have to divide all that by 3. Why am I dividing by 3? Well, that's what the formula told me to do. And now I work this out. I'm going to simplify. So 3.14, 3 to the second power is 9, times 4, and then I'm going to divide by 3, and once I get to this point, I could just type it, I plug in the numbers into my calculator. Okay, so I'm going to go 3.14, multiply that by 9, multiply that by 4. Remember to see what that equals first before you divide by 3. Then we divide by 3. So my volume is 37.68. Then I put in my measurements, which are meters, and it's always cubed. So there would be my volume. Okay? All right, so at this point, your teacher is going to give you this exact handout. Okay, it says Unit 13, Section 2B, Volume of Pyramids and Cones. Please change the Unit 13 to Unit 12. Okay, and then your assignment, which I'm going to check on Monday when I see you again, do all the problems, numbers 1 through, and then there's 2 number 11s. Go ahead, if you notice on the very back side, but do all the problems, numbers 1 through 11. All right, see you guys on Monday.